Proper nutrition for marathon training. How much do you consume? When do you take it? And what do you do after? Let's get into the details of that right now. And I'm Rob Tate, this is my brother Charlie, talking today about nutrition for marathon training. You're doing a lot of miles, you're training maybe for a marathon, so that means you're doing at least 5-6 runs a week. You're probably doing 15 to maybe 30, 40 miles a week, and you do need to consider that nutrition. So now I know you get to the point at some point where you think you don't need nutrition, it doesn't matter, I'm only going for 2-hour jog, I can do this no problem. Or you're just starting out and you're completely clueless. Charlie, what's the best practices that you like to do on the morning of let's say a long run? Let's start with that.
Morning of a long run, I'm just going to have maybe a bowl of oatmeal. I don't eat so much before during my training, but I think I'm not saying that's the best practice though.
Let's talk about best practice. So you know, a bowl or two of oatmeal, get, maybe 40, 50 grams of carbs in, and make sure you drink some water before. And I would imagine on anything over 90 minutes, you should probably take a gel somewhere in there, kind of halfway, just to make sure your body's completely replenished. You don't want, you don't want the body empty. Now we know that we can do a 90-minute. If you've been doing training for a marathon, you can do it. You can probably do 2 hours or even more without kind of feeling that starving pain. But that doesn't mean it's the best practices. We advocate that you take a snack. Now, if you don't want to bring something with you, the gels are very easy. You take one kind of every 45 minutes to an hour on a training run and you'll be fine. But if you do a 2-hour run, you take one, you take another. If you're looking at something shorter, Charlie, so now let's say we're doing a 45-minute run or an hour run in the morning. What will you think would be practice for that?
I don't think it matters too much. You might want to train without eating so that you can develop kind of that fat burning. And maybe you switch it up every once in a while. You eat depending on how hungry. I think if you're hungry, you eat. If not, you don't. I think, so one of the things that you talked about is when you're training for a marathon, right? You want to practice what you're going to do during the marathon. So that the perfect time is really the long runs. I think besides the long runs, it doesn't really matter. I think you want to make sure you eat after every workout because you need to build those muscles. The whole point of why you're working out is you're trying to build muscle. You're either trying to build muscle in your heart or muscle in your legs or muscle anywhere else. So after every workout, eat some protein, eat some carbs to refuel, but don't eat too much.
Right. You want to take that, the liquids, the carbs, and the protein kind of right after. And I always do that. I always do my protein shake right after my jog. And then at night, you kind of want to stop eating at 7 or whatever so that you're able to recover from being ready for the morning.
I find that eating too much close to bed affects my sleep and my recovery. So critical for me to stop eating at a certain point so that I get a full recovery.
Yeah, I find that it's almost like effort. Like if you end up eating a ton of meat or something or bread or whatever late, like at 10 or 11, let's say you're at a party and there's snacks out or barbecue and there's ribs or something and you end up just, filling your face with that, like the next morning you'll feel like I used to feel when I was hungover. Like that's how I feel.
Yeah, I think it affects your sleep. If it affects your sleep, which affects your recovery, right? And critical part of marathon training is your recovery.
Yeah, because you need to be ready to go the next day. You're going to do 14 miles or 16 miles on the Sunday, and on the Monday, you got to do 4 or 5 miles again, and you have to be fresh. And if you're not fresh, you can't do that jog. And if you can't do that jog, that means you're not improving, right? So the recovery is critical. I would totally agree. Now, okay, so you talked about before, you'll either do a little bit of carbs. During, you'll do kind of a gel or two. And then after, you're doing your liquids, some carbs, and obviously some protein. Anything else that you do kind of during the week aside from that? When you're prepping for a marathon, when you're training for a marathon, do you monitor your macros, make sure you get roughly your body weight and protein, stuff like that?
Not really. I try to avoid overeating. Like me, it depends on the person. I'm a person that is very prone to overeating, always been having to watch my weight and things like that. So I try to not overeat. Some people, it might be the opposite problem where they're having a hard time getting enough energy in. So to me, it's trying to get kind of the right amount. So not overeating or not undereating. And that's a tough thing, but it's also critical to me. Like it makes such a difference when I'm hitting those right on. I feel like that's when I'm max recovering, and then my training is great as well. So it's not an easy thing. Maybe see a nutritionist, I don't know, but hitting those numbers.
Yeah, I saw a nutritionist. Totally changed my life when I saw the nutritionist. I immediately lost some weight. I understood everything about my macros, and I was in a position to just train way more efficiently. All right, well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Tell us below what your thoughts are. How do you do it? Do you do it differently when you run? Do you eat before? Do you eat bigger meals before? Do you avoid the protein after. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to check out our podcast right on this channel, The Running Journey, where we talk about our journey from being two regular dudes to two guys who qualified for the Boston Marathon and who are doing other races, Ironmans, you name it. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm Rob. It's my brother Charlie. We'll see you in the next video.